The banana is world's most popular fruit. 5 billion bananas are eaten every day. They are cheap, nutritious, convenient, and utterly unremarkable. You've almost eaten one this week without even thinking about it for 1 minute. But here is what you don't think about. The banana sitting in your kitchen is a product of one of the most aggressive, most violent, most politically corrupt corporate campaigns in history. It involved private armies, both governments, CIA involvement, massacres of striking workers, and the deliberate economic destruction of entire countries to keep the fruit cheap. The term banana republic, which we use casually to describe a corrupt, dysfunctional state, was coined specifically to describe what one American fruit company did to Central America. The banana is not just a fruit, it's a crime scene. The United Fruit Company was founded in 1899, an American corporation created by merging several smaller fruit trading operations. Their business model was simple: buy land in Central America, where the land was cheaper and the governments were weak. Then grow bananas there, ship them to America and Europe, where the emerging middle class had developed an insatiable appetite for cheap exotic fruit. But cheap land and cheap shipping weren't enough. To really maximize profit, you needed something more. You needed to control the government. In Guatemala, they owned 42% of all land. In Honduras, they owned more land than the government. They owned the main port. They owned the railway, the only way to move goods across the country. They ran their own telegraph system, their own postal service, their own company towns. They were not a company operating in a country. They were a parallel government, an actual government. Presidents, ministers, generals quickly learned that cooperating with United Fruit was very profitable and not cooperating was very dangerous. They called this arrangement with some pride the octopus. The company even referred to itself this way because its tentacles were everywhere. The United Fruit Company's political operation was extremely sophisticated for that era. They paid bribes to government officials in the whole of Central America so routinely that this item was a line in the budget. They employed former US diplomats and military officials as lobbyists in Washington. They cultivated relationships with American politicians who would advocate for their interests. And when the persuasion failed, they used their relationship with the US government to arrange something more direct. Guatemala, 1954. The democratically elected Urbans wanted to redistribute United Fruit's unused land to poor farmers. The company lobbied Washington. The CIA overthrew Urbans. But Guatemala was just the most famous example. In Honduras, the company's influence was so total that Honduran presidents essentially served at their pleasure. When workers tried to organize for better wages or conditions, company management called the Honduran government. The government sent soldiers. The soldiers dealt with it. This was a system for decades, and it kept your bananas cheap. December 1928, Ciénaga, Colombia. Banana workers employed by the United Fruit Company had been on strike for over a month. They wanted just basic things: written contracts, 6-day work weeks instead of 7, compensation for workplace injuries, and the ability to not be paid in company scrip, fake money only usable at company stores. Reasonable demands by any standard. The Colombian government, under pressure from United Fruit, which threatened to call in the US government if the strike wasn't resolved, declared a state of siege. Workers and their families gathered in the town square. The military surrounded them and then opened fire. The official Colombian government figure for deaths was 9. Gabriel Garcia Marquez, the Nobel Prize winning Colombian author who grew up hearing about this massacre, wrote about it in 100 Years of Solitude. He described 3,000 dead bodies loaded onto freight trains. The real number was somewhere between dozens and hundreds. The exact figure was suppressed. Company and government documents from the time were classified for decades. The United Fruit Company responded to the massacre by cabling their headquarters in Boston that the situation had been satisfactorily contained. Now, here is a plot twist that you didn't see coming. The banana we eat is not the actual banana our grandparents ate. The dominant commercial banana until the 1950s was a variety called the Gros Michel. By all accounts, richer, creamier, more intensely flavored than what we have today. The banana flavor in banana candy, that is based on the Gros Michel, not the modern banana. The Gros Michel was wiped out by a fungal disease called Panama disease that swept through plantations in the 1950s and 60s. The United Fruit Company's monoculture farming, growing only one variety of banana across millions of acres with no genetic diversity, made the crop catastrophically vulnerable. When Panama disease hit, there was no resistance. The Gros Michel was essentially extinct commercially within a decade. The replacement was a Cavendish, the banana you know, chosen not because it tasted better, but because it was resistant to Panama disease. Here is a problem. A new strain of Panama disease called tropical race 4 has been spreading since the 1990s. It kills Cavendish bananas. It is currently spreading through plantations in Asia, Australia, Africa, and Latin America. There is no commercially viable replacement variety ready. The banana is potentially facing the same existential threat it faced in the 1950s. Because the industry still grows monocultures. Because genetic diversity is expensive. Because the same corporate logic that caused the first crisis is still operating. History repeating because nobody wanted to pay for the lesson. The United Fruit Company eventually declined. Competition, political landscape changes, and the landmark US antitrust case brought its decline. It went through various mergers and name changes and today exists as Chiquita Brands International. Chiquita, the friendly banana sticker company, in 2017 pleaded guilty to making payments to a Colombian paramilitary organization designated as a terrorist group. They paid $1.7 million to the AUC, a group responsible for massacres, forced displacement, and thousands of murders. They said they did it under duress to protect their employees from the threat. They were fined $25 million, but they kept continuing operating in the same terms. So, what happened to the countries that were turned into banana republic by the United Fruit Company? That is a question. The real question. Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, they remain among the most unequal, most violent, most economically fragile countries in the Western Hemisphere. Decades of corporate extraction, puppet governments, suppressed labor movements, and CIA-backed coups left institutional damage that has never been fully healed. And the people fleeing these countries today, making the dangerous journey north toward the US border, are in many cases fleeing the exact conditions that American corporate and government policy created and maintained over a century. The Banana Republic created the refugee crisis, and the country that created the Banana Republic now argues about how to stop the refugees at its border. Look at the irony. So I want you to eat banana differently from now on. Not with guilt, but with knowledge. The banana you eat is cheap because for over a century, the cost of the banana you eat was paid by the Colombian workers shot dead on a town square. Guatemalan farmers whose land was seized, Honduran laborers paid in fake money at company stores. The fruit is cheap, but the history of the fruit is expensive.